Fealty, obedience, subordination. That's the trinity demanded by every would-be authoritarian. They always start with vocabulary: loyal and disloyal, patriots and vermin, winners and enemies. They dress resentment up as righteousness. They wrap revenge in the flag and call it patriotism, love of country. Donald Trump surrounds himself with people who worship the ground he walks on and kiss the ring. He has to be coddled like a baby and shielded from the truth, or his little feelings get hurt and he lashes out. He can't handle being questioned. We saw it twice this week alone, where he disgustingly snapped at a reporter for asking, if there's nothing incriminating in the files, why not release them? Quiet piggy. The fact that the other reporters were not incensed at this vulgar display of disgusting misogyny just goes to show how much further we need to come when speaking truth to power. We cannot allow ourselves to delve to such depths that this is considered acceptable in our society. We are raised, and we raise our children to be good, respectable human beings. Trump belittled a reporter and literally dehumanized her for asking the questions that the American people want answers to. He can deflect all he wants, but he's losing the last marbles he has that these files are going to be released. And it is abhorrent that so-called Christians continue to sell out their pseudo-morality to a distorted MAGA Jesus, instead of just following the principles of human decency. And here's a post that outlines exactly that. I am continually appalled by Trump, but I'm even more appalled by the Christians who keep supporting him. Christian means Christ-like. Right now, every pastor and parent should be saying, act like Jesus, not like Trump. Be kind, show respect, don't insult people, stand up to bullies, defend the vulnerable, have compassion, love everyone. Follow Jesus, not Trump. And when White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt was pressed on why the leader of the free world decided to outright shit on a reporter for doing her job, Leavitt said that reporters should be grateful for the opportunity to be in the presence of such greatness and breathe the same air that is the stench of our commander-in-chief.
Tomorrow, and I'll let the president speak for himself. Natalie.
Thank you, Caroline. What did the president mean when he called a reporter piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves, and I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of his frankness. And he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration. But he also is the most transparent president in history, and he gives all of you in this room, as you all know, unprecedented access. You are in the Oval Office almost every day asking the president questions. And so I think the president being frank and open and honest to your faces rather than hiding behind your backs is frankly a lot more respectful than what you saw in the last administration, where you had a president who lied to your face and then didn't speak to you for weeks and hid upstairs and didn't take your questions. So I think everyone in this room should appreciate the frankness and the openness that you get from President Trump on a near daily basis. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure, Carolyn. I'm betting the internet will come up with some derogatory names that you would just love to be called. If you're watching this, feel free to leave your best or worst Karoline Leavitt nicknames in the comments below. The White House was so proud and clearly unembarrassed of this moment that Trump clearly called a reporter piggy that there's no way that they would have taken it out of the official White House transcripts. Right? This week, we also saw Trump lash out and talk down to another female reporter when ABC's Mary Bruce did her job and asked something real, and got accused of insubordination, as if the free press works for the president instead of the people. That's the tell of deep-seated insecurity and narcissism. What you're about to see is not strengthened leadership. It's a depressing undermining of patriotic values meant to show off to MBS, the Saudi leader that multiple intelligence agencies, including US Intel, found responsible for the murder and dismemberment of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Is that pretty good?
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. And I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump, and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible, and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question.
This foul behavior has no place in our White House, our politics, or our country. It is an embarrassment on the national stage. Crybaby snowflake Trump says the press is so mean that their licenses should be canceled. He wants utter fealty, like the state-sponsored media propaganda networks of North Korea and Russia. He believes the press, the military, universities, Congress, and the citizens of the United States should bend the knee or risk severe consequences. That's not freedom. That's not liberty. Thou shalt dehumanize, thou shalt arrest, thou shalt brutalize at the whim of the almighty ego. That's the sermon that they're selling. That anyone who speaks ill of the anointed savior is a traitor, that any judge who rules against him is corrupt, that any journalist who prints the truth is an enemy. He believes that questioning the almighty God King is treason and sedition, punishable by death. And that's exactly what Trump said about 6 Congress members who spoke out to our military and our intelligence agencies, reminding them that they not only can refuse illegal orders, but that they must legally, by law, refuse illegal orders.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army, or Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
It is not only that members of our intelligence community and our military can refuse illegal orders, is that they must. They must refuse them. They must report them. That's a requirement of law. But let's look at what Donald Trump did when he took to Truth Social to say that this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up, which he follows with seditious behavior punishable by death. And he also retruthed, hang them, George Washington would. What's happening right now isn't legal debate, it's a framing operation. A group of lawmakers said the military must refuse illegal orders, which is exactly what Articles 90 to 92 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice require. Service members are obligated to reject unlawful commands. That's not rebellion, that's the rulebook. The rhetoric calling this sedition has no grounding in federal law. Sedition statutes apply to intentional efforts to obstruct lawful military operations or incite disobedience to lawful orders, not to generic statements urging compliance with the Constitution. No prosecutor has ever treated a reminder about illegal orders as a criminal act because it doesn't meet the legal threshold. The speech or debate clause protects formal legislative acts, but even outside that scope, political statements about legality aren't crimes. If pointing to the UCMJ were sedition, then military lawyers, inspectors general, and ethics officers would all be in trouble. The rush to label oversight adjacent speech as treasonous isn't about law, it's about creating a dramatic narrative that pulls attention away from the real issues and recasts ordinary constitutional friction as an existential threat. Following the law isn't sedition, and disagreement isn't treason. So realistically, this is a framing around the idea of whether or not it's a lawful or unlawful order. The Congresspeople that spoke did not say to disobey all orders. They said to disobey illegal orders. So let's take a look at exactly what that means. So what constitutes an unlawful order? It has to violate the law. The order must violate the U.S. Constitution, U.S. federal law, or applicable international law like the Geneva Conventions. An unlawful order could direct the commission of a crime, like a criminal or unethical act, or it could violate regulations. Examples of unlawful orders would be ordering the targeting or intentional harm of civilians. You can disobey those. Ordering the torture or abuse of detainees. Falsifying operational or legal records. Ordering unauthorized domestic law enforcement action. Or ordering personnel to suppress lawful protests. Some of those sound familiar. And lastly, as we know from the Nuremberg trials, the defense of "I was just following orders" is not a legal defense in following an unlawful, illegal order. While the president may or may not have immunity from those actions, the people that are enacting them, the people that are acting those out, do not have immunity. Just as you see here with the consequences of following unlawful orders. It can expose a service member to criminal liability. The defense of just following orders is not an automatic excuse for illegal actions. And then here's another post that outlines the code around sedition. 18 U.S.C. Section 2387, activities affecting armed forces generally, criminalizes knowingly advising, counseling, or urging any member of the U.S. military to disobey, desert, or refuse lawful orders, with the intent to interfere with military operations or loyalty, with a penalty of up to 20 years in prison and $250,000. Now, this kind of language by the president is dangerous language. It essentially serves as a dog whistle to those in MAGA who, we know, aren't terribly smart, calling for the death of these senators. That it is sedition, that it is treason, that they should be arrested, tried, possibly hanged, sentenced to death. So if there's any party that seems like they are the ones escalating political violence, language around political violence, it seems like it's the president of the United States. Clear as day. They try to tell you, don't believe your lying eyes, but you can see it clear as day in front of you. However, let's see what our White House press secretary gaslighter had to say.
This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders.
Not at all what was said. Illegal orders was said over and over again. They are lying to you. Lying to you. To your face. You have eyes. You have the internet. You can see it. And they lie to you. They gaslight you. It's ridiculous.
The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos and it could incite violence and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. These 3 members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Alyssa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer. And notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
Once you know the truth about the language used in their video and what was said during the press conference, it looks desperate. Not gonna lie, Carolyn Leavitt looks a little ashamed of herself in the spot that I stopped this at, and I'm okay with that. She should be.
President of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed. This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal. This, as far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now, especially those that were specifically targeted by this social media post. Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or in violation of the Constitution. The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side. If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand and say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged. We are at a very dangerous moment right now. The President is engaged in the wholesale incitement, endorsement, and rationalization of political violence in this country. This is a very slippery slope that we are on. This is a moment for people to step up, for Republicans to step up, for business leaders to step up. Anybody who has a voice or a soapbox in this country needs to draw a line in the sand and say that it is not acceptable for the President of the United States to call on the murder of his political opposition.
If you like my content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching the Matt Balla Show, and I will see you next time.